My husband's mistress sent me a wedding invitation. Furious, I showed up at their ceremony and announced, "This wedding can't continue." The guests turned to me in shock as I held up my marriage certificate and said, "Because he's still married to me." I never thought I'd be the one standing at the back of a wedding hall, holding up a piece of paper that could turn an entire room against the man I once loved. But there I was, my hands trembling, my heart racing as I interrupted the ceremony with 6 words that made the guests gasp. "This wedding can't continue." Every head turned. The bride, dressed in an expensive white gown, went pale. The groom, my husband, froze in place, his jaw tightening as he locked eyes with me. I stepped forward, raising my voice so everyone could hear. "Because he's still married to me." The silence in the hall was deafening. Someone in the back muttered, "What?" while others exchanged confused whispers. The bride's mother clutched her chest. The officiant looked between us, his expression filled with uncertainty. And my husband? He didn't move. He didn't deny it. But let me take you back to how I ended up here. 2 weeks before that day, I had been living my usual life, completely unaware that my world was about to fall apart. I came home from work, tired but ready to enjoy a quiet evening. As I checked my mail, I noticed an elegant cream-colored envelope among the bills and advertisements. My first thought was that it was some kind of formal invitation, maybe a charity event or a business gathering. I opened it without much thought. And then, I saw the names. My husband's name. His full name. And underneath it, the name of another woman. I stared at the words, "cordially invited to the wedding of," like they were a cruel joke. At first, I thought it had to be some kind of mistake. Maybe someone with the same name. Maybe an elaborate prank. But as I read through the details, the date, the venue, the RSVP instructions, one thing became clear: this was real. And worse, the invitation had been sent directly to me. I sat down, my hands shaking, as I read it over and over again. My mind raced, but before I could even process my emotions, I went straight to our home office, opened the filing cabinet, and pulled out our marriage certificate. Still legally married. Still bound by law. There was no divorce. No separation. No legal paperwork of any kind. My husband, the man I had been with for over a decade, was about to marry another woman while still being married to me. And then the realization hit me. She must have sent the invitation on purpose. No one mistakenly sends a wedding invitation to the current wife. It was a message. A warning. A taunt. I sat there for a long time, staring at the invitation, before one thought took over my mind: she wants me to know. Then she's going to know exactly who she's dealing with. Over the next few days, I gathered everything I needed. Copies of our marriage certificate. Bank statements proving our joint accounts. Photos of us together from just weeks ago. Legal documents showing we had never even filed for divorce. I didn't call him. I didn't confront him. I wanted to see how far he would take it. And sure enough, he kept up his act. He still came home late, claiming he had long work meetings. Still acted like everything was normal. The wedding was scheduled for the following Saturday. And by then, I had made my decision. I was going to the wedding. And I was going to stop it. When the day finally arrived, I dressed in my best outfit, not to blend in, but to stand out. I wasn't there to sneak around. I wasn't there to make a scene for the sake of drama. I was there to tell the truth. I arrived early, staying at the back of the hall as guests started filling the seats. I saw familiar faces, people who had met me before, people who had no idea that the groom was already a married man. And then, the music started. The bride walked down the aisle, glowing with happiness. My husband stood at the altar, waiting for her, pretending to be an honorable man. But as soon as the officiant began the ceremony, I stepped forward. "This wedding can't continue." Gasps. Murmurs. The bride turned sharply, her expression shifting from confusion to horror. My husband went pale. And then, I held up the one piece of paper that would bring everything crashing down. Because he's still married to me. And that's where things got really interesting. For a few seconds, no one moved. The air felt heavy, like the weight of my words had sucked the life out of the room. The bride's eyes darted between me and the man she thought she was marrying. Confusion turned to realization. Then, fury. "Tell me she's lying," she whispered, her voice shaking. My husband, our husband, opened his mouth, but no words came out. I took another step forward, holding up the marriage certificate. "I have proof," I said. "We are still legally married." There has been no divorce, no separation. You cannot marry her because you are still married to me. The officiant, a man in his 60s, cleared his throat. Sir, is this true? Silence. And then, my husband did what cowards do best. He ran. He turned on his heel and sprinted down the aisle. Guests gasped as he shoved past them, knocking over a floral arrangement. The bride stood frozen, her fists clenched at her sides. Then, suddenly, she threw her bouquet at him. It hit him square in the back of the head. You disgusting liar, she screamed, finally finding her voice. Get back here. But he was already at the door, pushing it open so hard that it banged against the wall. And then something unexpected happened. The bride, the woman I thought was my enemy, lifted the hem of her dress and ran after him. So, I did too. The confrontation we caught up with him outside the venue. He was fumbling for his car keys, his hands shaking so badly that he dropped them on the pavement. Going somewhere? I asked, folding my arms. The bride wasn't so calm. She stormed up to him and slapped his arm. Explain. Now. He pressed his back against the car, eyes darting between us like a trapped animal. I was going to tell you, he stammered. Oh, when? I snapped. Before or after you said, I do? He wiped a hand down his face. I was handling it. Handling it? The bride let out a bitter laugh. You told me you were divorced. He flinched. She cut him off. You even showed me fake documents. I saw them. I felt a chill run down my spine. Fake documents? I had assumed he had been avoiding divorce out of laziness or arrogance, but forging legal papers. That was another level. Where did you get those documents? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. He looked away. That was all the answer I needed. The truth unravels. The bride turned to me, her anger momentarily giving way to concern. Did you know about me? I sighed, shaking my head. No. I found out when you sent me the invitation. Her eyes widened. I never sent you an invitation. I blinked. What? But, the envelope. The name. The address. She shook her head. I didn't send you anything. We stared at each other for a long moment, and then the realization hit us at the same time. Someone else wanted me to know. Someone who had access to their guest list. Someone who had a reason to expose him. And then, like clockwork, a new voice cut through the chaos. I sent it. We turned toward the venue entrance. And there she was. The hidden player, a woman in her late 50s, stood on the steps, arms crossed, watching everything unfold with an eerie calmness. My husband went stiff. Mom, he breathed. His mother. The bride's mouth fell open. You sent the invitation. She nodded. I did. I could barely believe what I was hearing. Why? His mother sighed, stepping closer. Because he's been doing this for years. Years. The bride looked like she had been punched in the stomach. What do you mean, years? His mother glanced at me, then back at the bride. You weren't the first. And if this wedding had happened, you wouldn't have been the last. My fingers tightened around the marriage certificate. How many? She exhaled slowly. 3 before you. A cold shiver ran down my spine. The bride's hands were shaking. He's done this to 3 other women. His mother nodded. And I refused to let him do it again. The collapse of a double life. By this point, my husband was shaking. Mom, stop. No, she said firmly. You don't get to run from this anymore. She turned to me. I wanted you to know because I knew you'd do something about it. Unlike the others, you're still legally his wife. That means you have power here. I swallowed hard, realizing what she meant. I could take him to court. I could expose everything. The bride squared her shoulders. I'm pressing charges for the fake documents. He paled. Wait, no, she snapped. You don't get to talk. And then she turned to me. I'm sorry, she said. I had no idea. I studied her face. Her pain. Her betrayal. She hadn't been my enemy. She had been another victim. And suddenly, I knew exactly what I had to do. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about every woman he had ever deceived. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. For years, my husband had built his life on lies. He had tricked women, played with their hearts, and walked away without consequences. That ended today. I looked at the bride, his almost wife. Then at his mother, the woman who had finally exposed him. And then, at him. He wasn't running anymore. He wasn't speaking. He just stood there, frozen, like a man watching his world fall apart. Good. I took a deep breath and spoke calmly. Here's what's going to happen. His eyes flicked to mine, full of fear. You are going to sign the divorce papers immediately. His lips parted, but I raised a hand, cutting him off. You are also going to give me everything I ask for in the settlement. No fighting. No delays. You will agree to every single condition I put in front of you. He swallowed hard. If you don't, I continued, I will take you to court. I will expose everything. I will make sure every single woman you've ever tricked knows what you did. I will drag your name through the mud so thoroughly that you will never recover. The bride nodded. And I will press charges for the fake divorce documents. That's a crime, you know. His mother added, and if this goes public, good luck finding another woman who will ever trust you again. The blood drained from his face. He knew we weren't bluffing. He had spent years playing games, but now he was trapped. It didn't take long for the news to spread. Guests left the venue in shock. Some stayed behind, whispering in the corners. The expensive decorations, the lavish floral arrangements, it had all been for nothing. The bride and I sat together in a small office while his lawyer scrambled to draw up the papers. His mother stayed nearby, silent but watchful. When he finally returned, his hands shook as he picked up the pen. I watched him sign my divorce papers without a single word. The bride watched him sign her legal statement, confirming that he had provided false documents. His mother watched him the entire time, disappointment heavy in her eyes. And with every stroke of the pen, I felt lighter. Freer. Before I left, I had one last thing to say. I turned to him, my voice steady. You spent years lying to women. Deceiving them. Thinking you could get away with it. I leaned in just slightly. But now. You're alone. His jaw clenched, but he said nothing. The bride stood beside me. I may have almost married you, she said, her voice cold. But I will never shed a single tear over you. His mother, the woman who had once defended him, looked at him with nothing but disappointment. I hope, one day, you realize what you've done, she said quietly. But by then, it'll be too late. And with that, we left him sitting there. Alone. A few months later, I got everything I wanted in the divorce. Our shared accounts. Mine. Our house. Mine. His reputation. Destroyed. The bride and I stayed in touch. She went on to rebuild her life, stronger and wiser. His mother and I met once for coffee. She apologized for raising a man like him. I told her it wasn't her fault. Some people choose to be selfish. As for him, last I heard, he lost his job. Turns out, lying and sneaking around doesn't help when your entire personal life blows up in public. I don't know where he is now. I don't care. Because the truth caught up to him. And this time, he couldn't escape it.